if you're struggling and if you're going through a hard time, don't be shy to talk about it, to use social media, to go out there and say, hey, I need help. I'm struggling. I'm suffering. I'm absolutely sure I would promise that there are a lot of people around who could potentially help you, even if they're strangers, even if you don't know anyone. Don't be shy. Ask for the help and you will get it.
Hi everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Startup Empathy video series. In this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a creator and influencer and a very talented photographer, Andrea, who I've been fortunate to work with already many times. I'm very excited because she's going to openly share all of her challenges and struggles that she's going through during this very intensive time of crisis, and she's also going to tell us her secrets, how she's coping with it. I really hope that you're going to enjoy this video, and if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, please do so in the link below. Thank you so much and enjoy the video. Andrea, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm very excited because I think it's a difficult time for everybody to stay in house and try to keep busy with smart things. And I'm very excited to speak to you because, as I said many times before, I'm not sure if on or off the record, but I think you're one of the best photographers. And I'm very excited to hear how you are dealing with this time right now and like what you are up to.
First of all, thanks for having me. It's so great to see you in person, even though it's online. It is a very difficult time. As for me, as a freelance photographer and content creator on Instagram, people are struggling. People still don't know what to do with their time. Agencies are not really communicating. I don't get any emails at the moment. I don't know how it's like for other people in my business, but it's really calm, which is actually quite nice for a change. It feels like a little bit of holidays, but of course it's a very serious situation and I'm staying inside, as we should all do. I'm so ready to work again. As for me, this is such a motivational time. I'm like, collecting inspiration, I'm browsing through stuff, I'm doing my research, I'm reading a lot. So I feel really excited to work again.
What inspires you right now as a content creator who kind of like is held back of like really executing against your passion? So what is it that like, keeps you motivated right now when you're browsing, and what are you specifically looking for?
All kinds of things are really motivating to me. For example, I'm reading a lot more. So through reading, I get a lot of images in my head and inspiration, and I'm finally practicing meditation again.
Yes.
So that's really nice to create some images in my head and kind of where I want to go, and also create some new goals for myself, like where like it sets like a stop for me to reflect and think about where do I want to be next year, where do I want to go, which direction do I want to focus on. I got a lot of books. Of course, I'm browsing through pages like Pinterest, Instagram myself. I'm looking through old photos, also old photos that I took. And I'm like creating inspiration boards. I'm creating folders of stuff I want to do in the future. So that's really exciting to me, actually.
As a creator, and I think we're both more or less in a similar boat where we try to create content that serves value or gives value to our people, that we try to inspire. What is it kind of like the message that you try to give out to people now, and we are like self-isolating and like trying to stay at home like I'd say trying to go out the little as possible? So what is it that like is like your message? You say like, well, that keeps you strong to know like this is the right thing for the next couple of weeks.
I'm trying to create a mixture out of positive messages like, hey, try to use your time. But also I'm saying like, it's okay if you're not doing anything. Some people just need the rest. They haven't had a time in their lives where they could like fully stop at whatever they were doing and focus on something completely else. Like maybe you find a new hobby, maybe you find a new passion, or now is the time to learn a new language or like improve your cooking skills. And maybe that again will help you in your job, whatever you're doing, like just fuel your creativity and do something. Like I started drawing again. I never really did draw. So that's exciting. And I'm just trying to to share a message of I'm struggling too. I have good days, I have bad days. So I'm just trying to be real. I'm trying to be authentic, and I'm trying to inspire people as much as I can.
I mean, a lot of the things that happened in the last couple of weeks is like everything shifted to remote, and using tech is more like a basic need now compared to, let's say, a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, okay, let's see if we can use Zoom, or like, let's see if we can use WhatsApp, and like, how can we, become digital? How has tech shaped you in the last couple of weeks?
Oh, wow. I found Zoom, which is super exciting to me. I've had a couple of meetings on Zoom.
Yes.
Which I find are just as great, not as great, but they work fine. Like in the future, maybe if I have a meeting in the future, I might say, what if you don't just Zoom it?
Yes.
You could Zoom it and save time and be more productive.
Yes.
Because I think it has a lot of advantages. Also with my yoga class, I'm practicing yoga online now, and we meet and we talk. It's almost just like the real thing. And that's what really surprised me at first, because I was like, I don't know, the online thing, it's not like you're not of course I'm missing the physical touch with the people that I love, like my friends. But for business related things, I think it's very, very cool tool to use. What about you? Do you like Zoom? Have you used Zoom before? I assume yes.
Yes. I've used Zoom quite often. I mean, like now for me, it's much less convincing needed for people to say like, let's just Zoom, because anyways, there's no other option. But overall, for us as my team, which is already like distributed around the world, and we've been, remotely set up already for 4 years now. So like for me and for my team, we had like more or less a seamless transition, if you want to call it like that, because for us it was more like, okay, like how can we stay safe, how can we protect our families, and much less of like logistics of the work experience we're having, much more focused on the health, which I'm very happy about, because we can really focus on our loved ones. We can focus on like making sure that they're happy, but we don't have to adjust our work in terms of technology or learn new tools and stuff like that. Anyways, everything is already online and fully distributed. So that's very helpful in a crisis like this. Nevertheless, I think till now, I think we were ahead of the game. So I think we were like a few steps ahead of everybody else. And now we have to figure out new ways how we can get like a significant unfair advantage again to other companies. But I think there's so many opportunities when you see and speak to people in the world. I think this is now we're recruiting heavily in terms of like creative people, from video editors to designers and everything. And like, it's so interesting. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to in the world. Everybody's affected by this. Everybody has their struggles. Everybody has to now all of a sudden figure out how they can balance, let's say, family and work. And it's not anymore like, okay, like let me like do a 9-to-5 job and then like have my children being taken care of. Now it's more like we have to figure this out in-house. So which is a very, very special, unique time. And we see it as a big opportunity for us to bond with our children, but also like to have a meaningful life during this period where we can really, without being judged by the outside, having like this perfect balance between having a career, having children, a family, a wife, whatever you're in. But so that is very, very helpful to us. This connection between using tech to really work with people from around the world, but also being offline and having like this quality time with the family. Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about, like, I want to talk about opportunities, because I think it's so hard, or it's much easier to see like the crisis, and the media only talks about Corona and everybody talks about like how bad it is for the economy, but nevertheless I see a lot of opportunities. Maybe from a creator perspective, what do you see like are the biggest opportunities that like now opened up in the next couple of weeks that you would like to see and elaborate?
For me, it's a great time to focus on really my strengths, like to reflect and think about what I'm doing and where I want to go, as I said before, but also for agencies, like how they want to work with content creators or photographers in the future. Like, as for now, I have an offer pending where a brand would just send me all of their products, and I take the photos at home by myself, like with my own setup, with my own tools, with my own creativity,
yes,
which sounds so exciting and so awesome to me. So I think that's something that's definitely becoming possible, and like giving more freedom to the people who actually create the art at the end of the day of your product, and to find new tools to work with. And also online ordering, online shopping has become huge. Like, of course, since we're all online, we're all on our phones, and we focus the whole time, what can I buy? How can I do stuff at home? Can I redecorate? I also love redecorating, reorganizing, cleaning everything. It just cleans your mind, and it sets like a new canvas for everything that's coming.
But do you think that like the way like right now as an influencer you're interacting with these agencies, that is something that like it's going to stay long term, or you think that's more like a temporary thing where right now they just send you the products versus going onto holidays and check out hotels and stuff like that? Is this something that like you see as a potential for the next for the near future?
I definitely see it as a potential. But of course, as soon as we can go travel again, we will go travel again. That's for sure. But it sets a good spirit, like a good amount of trust in the influencer as well. Like, why would you not just let one person do everything? I'm on my own here. I'm a one-man, one-woman show. And I do it all by myself, and I find it really exciting. And maybe it shows somehow to save costs as well. Maybe when they see, oh, why don't we just save costs and invest our budget into one person who can create this? Whereas we've always done it the old way. And what if we don't just try new things, and maybe it works for us in the future and we'll do it again? But for the very near future, for the upcoming weeks, I think we still have to elaborate some new tools and new ways to work together.
So what, like when you look at, let's say, your job as a content creator and influencer, what would be like the ideal help that like you can get now from people, from your community, when they say like, hey, like I love what she's doing, her pictures are amazing, and during this time I just would like to support Andrea as much as I can. What would be kind of like the help that like is like necessary for you for you to get through, let's say, this couple of weeks?
Well, of course, there's always an option to buy a voucher for future work, which is awesome. I love interacting with people. I love taking portrait and.
So let's do that. I'll do that. I'll take it.
You can always buy a voucher, or you can maybe just get informed, like ask for prices, choose your photographer, because now we have the time and you can work with people. I'm also working on my homepage at the moment, which will hopefully be online soon after the whole virus thing. So that's great as well. But yeah, the way they can support me, I mean, always ask questions. Now we have the time. We have time to talk. We have time to brainstorm. We have time to elaborate new ways. And I think that's the time we should use for communication, especially.
I mean, like one of the things that like I'm curious to hear your take on is, I mean, like economically, again, like it's not so simple. Many people lose their jobs, lose their businesses. I mean, like we lost out on a lot of revenues, a lot of trips that we have planned. I think a total of like 5 or 6 trips that like we had planned already. And yeah, that we basically lost out all of this revenue for now. Maybe like they will come somehow differently. But like, what would you tell people who like are now like not just struggling with getting like new clients or struggling, but like really struggling, like maybe even get food on the table, struggling with their existence, like they're like maybe even get close to depression? What would you tell people like that who are like struggling with like the real deal life issues that like, you know, it's not just about, okay, the luxury that we have here in Switzerland. It's more like, what do you say to people who are like struggling with basic needs?
Well, those are a lot of questions in one question.
No, it's like basic needs, like, you know, like people who have basic needs and like right now they're like struggling with, you know, figuring out their life.
There's so many tools popping up right now. You can get professional help from almost everywhere. Even strangers are up for phone calls. There's a platform called Binnenland by Coffee Freitag, where you can just call people and talk if you're in need. Now is the chance to talk to friends, to ask for help, but to also give the help that you can give. You can go shopping for somebody. You can maybe give food to somebody that you don't use anymore or you don't need. Now is the time to interact with neighbors again, to the people you usually don't talk to. And I think if you're struggling and if you're going through a hard time, don't be shy to talk about it, to use social media, to go out there and say, hey, I need help, I'm struggling, I'm suffering. And I'm absolutely sure I would promise that there are a lot of people around who could potentially help you, even if they're strangers, even if you don't know anyone. Don't be shy. Ask for the help and you will get it.
Now, if just to wrap it up, like if you had the chance to speak to other creators, or in my case, like entrepreneurs, what would it be that like you would be curious to know about, like how they're struggling? What is the specific questions that you would love to ask them?
When I look around my neighborhood, we have a lot of small shops. I live in Zurich Seefeld, and a lot of local businesses that I know, and I'm really sad about them for maybe not being able to pay their rent. They have to shift online really quickly. I would want to know, like, what's in it for you? Like, how can you only be online? Are you now shifting from the physical shops to the online shops? Maybe we will have a huge field of online shops in Zurich in the future, and more offices or like co-working spaces and less shops. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Is that a possible?
Well, I mean, like, I think specifically here in Switzerland, I think finances is still not so much talked about. And I think we have to get down to the real numbers. It's nice if people say like, okay, like we can't pay the rent, but like, you know, like sometimes maybe there are people who say like, okay, look, something is expensive and something is cheap. So like if someone says like, I can't pay the rent, even if as an outside, I can't help you because I don't know what that means. But if someone tells me like, look, I can't pay my rent and it costs me 1,500 Swiss francs and I can't pay it for the next 3 months, I think it could be much easier. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's easier to really help with the financial support if you say like, okay, look, I'll give you 4,500 Swiss francs right now. This should cover your rent for 3 months. Then I know what I get myself into, especially on social media when it's about like transparency and communication. Then like, and I watch a video of someone who tells me like, I'm struggling with the rent, then I don't feel like a need for action, because for me it's very hard. But to know like what that means, in like, you know, someone who has a mansion and lives in a penthouse and like they can't pay their rent, I'm saying like, I'm really sorry, I won't be able to help you. But like if a local store and you see like, okay, like you like their food and you're probably going to buy there anyways in the next couple of years, and you say like, okay, look, we need 1,500 Swiss francs for a month, and you say like, okay, look, I have 3 friends, we all pay 500 francs, we get each a voucher, then you know exactly, and then you can use like really like this the power of the crowd, where just one person needs to think of this idea, but you have to talk about the numbers. You have to say, look, I have payments of I don't know, salaries of like 5,000 Swiss francs a month to my freelancers, for example. And if I could like pay them for the next 3 months, then I know we can get through this crisis. Then it's much easier to find a solution for people who are just watching the video or people who are like from the outside. So I hope that like this will, you know, give opportunities to like people who are struggling to really open up about the numbers. Not saying about like, I don't need to know how much people are making, and I don't really care so much, but I'm saying if I want to help and I know how much that comes with, what kind of financial burden or financial how do you call it, responsibility, then I can much easier help and try to find like a solution. So that's what I hope. that's kind of like what I hope, that like we here in Switzerland open up a little bit about like the real numbers and like can really like show like how we can help, because we're a rich country. It's not like we have, I think majority of the people here in Switzerland, specifically in Zurich, I don't think, and I hope I'm not insulting anybody here, they don't have to worry about like getting food on the table. I think the social system is good enough that like everybody has usually their rent paid, they usually have their food on the table, but like overall, I think it's right now it's a liquidity issue where the cash flow is being stopped and people are not like paying because they get anything and they can't take any services, whether it's from a photographer, from a restaurant. So I think like there could be a lot of opportunity there, like to really help get through this crisis altogether, assuming we open up about the numbers. That's what I hope.
Did you yourself apply for financial help from the government, from the SVA?
So we're in a very special situation. I founded my AG last week.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so the government pays out money to companies who were founded before March 1st, 2020. And we were founded March 25th, 2020. So we just fall through the cracks. And maybe, I can apply for like the Selbstständigkeit, like whatever it's called. But on the other hand, I feel lucky that we found an investor that paid us like a nice amount of money just before the crisis. So I also feel like I'm sure there are other people who need that more right now. If you take on like money from the government, whether that's a credit or like subsidy, at some point you will have to pay it back, whether that's a credit that you have to pay back and you have your balance sheets, you have debt. I'm not sure if this is a good idea if you don't need it. And on the other hand, if you take on the other subsidy, then it will just increase in the taxes at some point later, either our generation or the next generation. It's good if the people who really need it take it. And I think we are in a fortunate situation that right now we don't need it. And so that's why I'm trying to help as much as I can with people. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your
work.
Very
good. Very good. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy. And we'll be in touch. Stay home. Stay home.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.